In 5-10 minutes, I am going to be doing a quick breakdown and reaction to the entire Week 11 Big Ten slate. So let's get after it here and talk about Northwestern USC for a minute. The Trojans continue to show that they, when healthy, when prepared, and when they're not taken completely aback, can coach with anyone in America and can play with anyone in America. Yes, they had that little gimmick, fourth down fake punt where they put Sam Heward in at punter that should have been called a penalty, but they would have won. They would have won anyway. This channel will make you a college football expert and help you enjoy watching games and make more accurate predictions. So what are you waiting for? Like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment your thoughts, and watch the video all the way through so that you can get the full package. And check the description and pinned comment for more ways to help yourself and this channel. The fact that Northwestern was incapable of moving the football after the interception that was fumbled out of the end zone because Jade Mayava didn't give up on the play showed who the better team was. Northwestern was winning the trenches and making the game competitive for about 25 minutes, and then for the final 35, USC was in total control. With the injuries that Oregon has sustained, depending on how long those are, I previously viewed the Oregon game as a guaranteed, likely blowout loss for the Trojans. With those injuries, USC, I think, has a real opportunity now to reach the playoffs. If they can beat Iowa and beat them soundly, and they're healthy and Oregon hasn't brought everyone back, they should be able to go on the road and potentially upset Oregon, and they should beat rival UCLA. Nothing's a given, though. Still think it's unlikely, but the Trojans are in as good of a position as any two-loss team outside of maybe Michigan and Texas and maybe one other team, but those two come to mind, to reach the college football playoff. Oh, and the ACC champion, but maybe Georgia Tech wins out. Who knows? For Indiana, Penn State, close win, ugly performance. It's the best of both worlds if it was going to be a close game. You win, you get the reward of winning, but that does not overshadow the necessary change of direction and discipline and the raking of players in the film room due to the poor performance. Indiana moves on to 10-0. Penn State still cannot find a win against a top 5, top 10 team. For Indiana, I think this game showed that they're not invincible. No one's invincible this year in college football, but Indiana, from an efficiency standpoint, was looking to possibly be that team. No. Ohio State's number one, I think. I don't think they're invincible either, but yesterday's performance by both the Hoosiers and also the Buckeyes solidified my opinion that as of right now, Ohio State's the number one team. The Buckeyes move on to 9-0. They beat Purdue 34-10, and by the way, Indiana beat Penn State, as you can see on the screen, 27-24. USC beat Northwestern 38-17. Ohio State played a basic game where they are who they are, and that means they are a team that is elite on defense, elite through the air, below average on the ground, and they will always beat you by 3 to 4, 5 possessions if you are not one of the best teams in the country. Would love to see Ohio State, play tougher competition, but that's the case with the entire Big Ten. The Big Ten got screwed over by James Franklin being an absolute moron and completely whiffing with that Penn State roster and staff. I think many of those Penn State players will have success in the NFL. Many might have success at other schools, and many of those staffers will have success at other schools. And the common denominator for why they failed will be on James Franklin. So I don't fault Ohio State for their schedule in the same way that I don't fault Oregon for theirs up to this point, or Indiana's played, I think, a tougher schedule Big Ten-wise than Ohio State or the Ducks have, but at least Ohio State played Texas in the non-con. I don't like the conversation about Ohio State and their schedule outside of the idea that you can't call them an uber-dominant team when several teams are uber-dominant against bad competition. That's the only reason. But I think they're number one. And against Purdue, they showed that they can play an imperfect game and still be totally safe. And that's the mark of a team that is either going to win a title or at least will compete for one. And that classifies as a successful season for Ohio State either way. Rutgers had a needed win over Maryland. Happy for them, happy for Schiano. They have 2 more games left. Play Ohio State on the road after a bye and Penn State at home. I'd say they'll probably lose both, but the Penn State game will be winnable. So if they go bowling with this schedule, I got to be honest, that's a successful season for Schiano, given some of the pieces they lost and how they've developed Kaliakmanis with the tougher schedule. Like what I saw out of them. For Maryland, they are quickly losing cabin pressure. They're 14.5-point underdogs at Illinois. They're probably going to be anywhere from 7.5 to 10.5, 11.5-point underdogs to Michigan at home. And Michigan State Neutral Field at the end of the year is going to be a toss-up. This is a team that is very close to having another losing season 2 years in a row under Loxley, despite having easier schedules than they did in the Big Ten East. I think Loxley's job is in legitimate danger. Now, ideally, might you want to wait until next year to get someone new in here? Maybe. Especially since Loxley is, I think, tied with a lot of these high-caliber young players. But maybe you want to take a risk and get someone in who might be able to keep some of them or even all of them, but develop them better. Because to have the start Maryland did and then to go 0-5 is not a sign of good coaching. You would prefer good coaching over recruiting wins and having some stellar true freshmen in exchange for not winning games. Anyone would. So if Maryland doesn't quickly pull up the nose from the ground, they're going to crash, and Loxley will be gone. Oregon beating Iowa, very similar to Indiana beating Penn State. Close win. There are impressive and positive takeaways from that, but there are also some negatives. Oregon needs to get healthy. I think if they want to win a title, they are not going to win a title playing this style of football. Though, if their offensive line can move Iowa's like that, and their defense continues to perform as it has in efficiency metrics, maybe they can do that. But you need at least some offense to win a title. So for Oregon, they need to figure that out. That's a negative. The positive is they beat Iowa at their own game, and they only have one loss, and they're in the playoff picture, and their only loss is to an Indiana team that will probably finish 12-0. So I think their resume for the playoffs, at this point, favorable. This was their toughest game in November. They passed it, so they're either going to go 10-2 or 11-1, I think, at this point. Wisconsin beat Washington. Washington is not a great team. They're above average. Good teams don't lose to Wisconsin on the road. I'm sorry, they don't. Washington's offense absolutely sucks at scaling against good defensive fronts. We've been saying this for a while. At least Washington went bowling. They're probably going to beat Purdue this Saturday. And between one of UCLA or Oregon, they'll probably split those series. They just need to make sure they don't drop both of those or they don't lose out, because it feels like Washington, their lack of depth is catching up to them. And with the way the UCLA game on the road plays out, with it being the week before Oregon, that could be a trap spot. Speaking of the Trojans, not the Trojans, my gosh, the Bruins. Speaking of the Bruins, Nebraska beat them. Looked like they were going to beat them soundly early, but UCLA mounted a failed comeback. What I love about Nebraska is their culture has been the reason why they're better this year than last year. Last year, they lost a ton of close games. They didn't quite get over that hump. This year, they've been able to get over the hump time and time and time again. I don't know how much better this Nebraska team is than last year's, if not for the improvements in the culture. I genuinely don't know. With the Raiola injury especially. Like, they are much worse on the defensive line. They're probably worse at linebacker. They're much better at DB and receiver, yes, but they're also probably a little bit worse at tight end, and their offensive line isn't really the best. But they're improving on the O-line, and I think they're better than they are last year, and that's huge given this is factoring in the QB injury. TJ Lateef played incredibly well, and Nebraska led or tied for the whole game. So they were in control from the minute they stepped onto the field to the minute they walked off after winning their 7th game in this regular season. So a lot of big action in the Big Ten, a lot of great games, plenty of close competitive games. Wow, we had 1, 2, 3, we had 4 one-score games, and Rutgers, Maryland was close. So 5 out of the 7 games were competitive. That's a phenomenal weekend of Big Ten football. That is my Week 11 Big Ten reaction. Let me know your thoughts to all of those games down in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. It's my mission on College Football with Sam to make you the most informed, knowledgeable, and entertained fan as possible. We aren't perfect, but we hit the nail on the head more often than we hit our thumb with the hammer. Make sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment, and if you're here, you've probably already watched the whole video. So thank you for doing those things.